Good morning, everybody. I got this message today about what I've learned running a remote video podcast. And I was already starting to write this answer, but I figured instead of sharing this with one person, I might just answer it here and give more people the chance to learn what I learned and what I would do differently. So let's get into it. Okay, so let's look at this from three different areas. The first one is what even makes a good podcast. The second one is how to make this sustainably. And the third one is how to grow this. Starting with the what makes a good podcast, I was really worried in the beginning that people don't care about remote conversations, that in-person conversations are inherently better. And that is simply not true. I found it for my show to be true, and I found across the board that people really don't care if it is in person or remote, as long as the base layer quality is there and if there's some kind of value there, a reason for people to listen. That brings us to the second point. You do have to have the base quality covered, but that doesn't mean spending a fortune. Any decent mirrorless camera that you can hook up via USB as a web camera will do. A decent microphone for $100, $200 is totally gonna cover it. And maybe using a platform like Riverside where you have control over the separate tracks, it's gonna make your life so much easier in post-production, and it's gonna deliver better sound and video quality. And the third realization in that ballpark I've made is that a lot of people actually just listen. So it is still true that audio trumps video. As long as you have decent sound, people can enjoy the show. And you don't have to over edit it. Like all the graphics, the whatever inserts you want to do are not as crucial as you think once you have people listening to that. And how we get people to listen is going to be in the next blog. Okay, so now that we have the base layers covered, what makes this actually sustainable? And a big keystone mindset shift here for me was that 200 views is actually really, really good. You don't have to aim for 100,000 for a top 1% podcast. If you stop looking at the, Huberman's Diary of a CEO, Colin and Samir, the top percent of podcasts, you will find that most podcasts, like 98%, get a couple hundred views, even the ones that have a really dedicated following. And so being okay with this number and being happy with this number is a big mindset shift, and understanding that a conversational video podcast does not play the same game a entertainment YouTube video does. Yes, you still have the chance to go viral and reach millions, thousands of people, but that is generally not the game that you're playing with this. Another thing that is going to make this much easier is to understand that longer does not equal better. I think there's a common consensus that a conversational podcast is an hour long, but honestly, it doesn't have to be. I'm starting to lean more and more into shorter episodes that are more dense with information, more dense with emotion, rather than dragging it out with fluff over an hour. Not just because that's a better experience for the audience, but also it makes my life a lot easier. Editing a podcast takes so much time simply because you have an hour or 2 hours of raw material to go through. And if you want to do your job well, just watching it before you publish would take an hour. And so take that into consideration. The longer your episode is, the more time you're gonna spend in the edit. And the last piece of the puzzle here is to really dial in what the conversation is about. At the beginning, I thought about just sitting down with a friend and having a conversation would make a great podcast. That might be true for some guests, but it definitely isn't true for a lot of them. And it becomes very easy to get derailed with some side tangents that might be fun in the moment, but hold no merit to anybody watching it, listening to this, without the context that you're having. And so once you understand why you reach out to somebody and what you want to talk with them about, it makes the conversation flow much simpler. It makes packaging much easier, which is going to be the next point. And it's going to streamline the whole thing from top to end. So yeah, think about that before reaching out to anybody. All right, so how do you grow this thing even? If you're already happy with a couple hundred views with, the network that you have, that is great. But while this is very different from entertainment on purely educational YouTube content, we are still playing the packaging game. And that is the area that I'm thinking about most right now. It is not that I start with title and thumbnail before I even reach out to a guest. I think that would be silly. You never know what the conversation is going to turn into. But having this topic is going to help you package it. And the way I think about it, because there is not a lot of good advice out there on how to package a conversational video podcast. The thumbnail is there to get somebody's attention and communicate in the simplest shape and form what this video is about. 2, 3, 4 words maximum in there. Everything beyond 5 is kind of destined to fail unless it's really nicely designed. And when I say that, I don't mean aesthetics. That's a big mistake, I thought. I thought thumbnails are about aesthetics. They are about communicating the essence of what this video is about and standing out in this sea of options that a viewer might have. And then the title is there to give context to the image, give a better understanding and a better reason for somebody to click, and pose some kind of question or use some kind of words that speak to a specific group of people, so they know it is for them and it holds something interesting to them. That 1-2 combo is what gets people to click if they don't know you. They see like, oh, this is a conversation that I might learn something from. Let me give this a try. And so then they click on it, and in the first 10 to 30 seconds, you really have to make sure that you communicate more of what this is going to be about and give people reasons to hang in there for 20, 30 minutes. Retention graphs on podcasts simply don't look like a MrBeast retention graph. What I've been doing now is really start at the deep end. Really go into the topic that this person is here for. And now they're maybe more interested in that person. It's like, oh, and it becomes this like dopamine kind of release where it's just like, it's this reward for hanging in there. And then the last couple of points are really about understanding yourself more than anything else. And to be completely honest, it's hard to figure this out on paper. This really becomes clearer as you release more episodes, as you engage more with the people who interact with it. But in order to make a podcast that resonates with people, you have to understand the audience. You have to understand who you're making this for, who you want to reach, and why would they care? What are the questions that they have? What are the desires they don't have filled, where you can come in and help them with a conversation? That also plays into pick a lane that makes this different. Probably, I don't know, most people start by imitating a show that they like. I certainly done it, and you see it, I think, across the board who I was inspired by. But once you get through this inspiration cycle and replay what others have done, hone in on your own perspective. What are those conversations that you admire? What don't they deliver? What unique perspective, what unique lens can you apply that makes this different? If I already have 5 shows I listen to, it is really hard to replace that unless something happens with that show. Podcasts stop all the time, so that is an option. But how do you replace my commute listening to the show with a new show? That has to give a different view, a different take that is interesting to me, or it has to fill a gap that opened up or that simply exists. And then lastly, really understand why you do it. I don't want to be like pessimistic or anything like that, but the chance of starting a podcast and landing giant brand deals and exclusive deals from a platform and becoming rich and famous, to put it simply, are so slim. It is 100% possible, but there's much more value to be gained from starting and running a podcast. And to me, first of all, that is creating connections, making new friends. The end of the conversation is the beginning of a relationship, because every guest, you might have a conversation with them for an hour, but some of them are going to become lifelong friends. You can also do it just to learn something, right? You want to, I think Jay Klaus does this a lot. He has a specific thing he's interested in right now. And so he invites a guest who knows a lot about it. He learns about it. The audience learns about it. The expert can share what they've learned. And so it's like a triple win situation. It's great. Maybe you just want to spend more time with friends or with people you know. And a podcast is a great excuse to do that. Maybe you want to give context to what is happening in a hobby that you're interested in, and nobody's talking about it, and you can just deliver this banter about, I don't know, PlayStation games or plants or whatever it is. And so understanding the reasons why you're doing it, I think, is really a big key. Giving it your own perspective, and then understanding who you're doing it for, because that makes all the steps before it so much easier. Those were my top 10 tips on how to start and grow a remote conversation podcast. Let me know if any of them stuck out to you, what's your takeaway from that. And if you want to see more of these creator support solo shows. If you do have a question, leave it down in the comments and I'll pick one to answer in 2 weeks' time after the next podcast comes out. And see you in the next one. Hey, Editing Val here. Before you click on the next video, I just wanted to let you know that we're running a Summer of Progress inside the Orbit community. So if you want to improve your channel, focus on something in your creator life, or start a podcast, this would be a great time to join. It's going to give you structure and accountability to make meaningful progress over the summer while everybody else is on vacation. We're going to get shit done. If that sounds interesting to you, the doors are open until June 8th, and then they're going to close at least until September. But I would love to see you there.